Hello, everyone. Welcome to our third Wolfram Language Design Review of the day. This is part of the version 14 season. And right now we are looking at video, image. Do we get audio as well? Oh my gosh, we got audio as well. Okay, video. What's happened to video in the cloud, by the way? Because it just wasn't working.
It should be work. There is one corner case of files that are within the layout that is still problematic. But as a general statement, it should work.
It should be working now, or it should be working in 14
It should be working now.
It's been working for a while.
Didn't work for me.
As I said, there is a corner case of files that exist within the mathematical layout. So unfortunately, that covers some of the example data that we have. But in general, if you create a video or grab a video from some other source, it shouldn't have any issues.
So if I say something like manipulate plot sine x plus a, x 0, 10, a, I don't know, 0, 5, then that hopefully will create for me a manipulate. Okay, now I say, what do I say? How do I make a video from this?
Just video of manipulate should work.
Video of that.
Yep.
Oh, we'll let it grind for a while. Is this going to work, do you think?
Should I think there is some issue with progress indicators in general in the cloud?
Can somebody chase that, please?
No, not the details of that.
Could somebody chase that, please? Who's PMing here?
I'm PMing. I'll make note. Eli.
Thanks.
I believe that there is a ticket or a bug report for it somewhere.
All right.
Try an animation video example too. That's
No, I'm not trying any
Oh,
example.
that crashed.
It crashed.
Oh. All right. So it's not working. I think this is what happened to me before. Okay.
Carlo, could that as well be the progress indicator?
It could be. I mean, this
You guys just need to chase it. Okay. Okay. What am I supposed to look at here?
2 or 3D video. This is just general statements about there. This is probably a little bit overstated from where we are right now. Should have probably pared those bullets back. Sorry about that.
Okay. So we look at the cow from every angle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do we determine? I mean, so if I say, so if I make a 3D object here, I'm just going to save this in a reasonable place. That's not where I want to save it. I want to save it in SW notes. Where should I save this? Image processing? I must have an image processing. Gosh. I guess I'm just going to make a folder here called design reviews, but I really would appreciate if people would actually put it in here. Get some PM to put it in here so that we keep it in the same place.
I prefer you pull them when we have the meeting because
All right.
they're updated
Just
to the very
remind me.
last. Yeah.
Okay. What's it doing? This is so slow. Should I be, I mean, is it just because we're doing a lot of stuff all in one go that this is so slow?
Most of it is rasterized.
So how do we make
What
that faster?
resolution machine are you on?
Very high resolution.
Yeah. So you're getting high resolution rasters.
Well, is that what we want all the time?
You can control it with a
I
raster size
understand, but I
option.
don't know to control it because Sandra on our live stream is commenting, for tour video, as a recommendation, when you do a 10 times zoom in, what you see is that the size is now changing linearly over time, but that means the zoom rate is not constant, which looks unpleasant.
What?
If you do a 10 times zoom in, yeah, let's just see what this does. Oh, for goodness sake. It's amusing. It's not dramatic, but it's amusing. I think you should understand what Sandra is saying. 10 times zoom in for tour video.
I think I understand. Zooming in, how we zoom in is not linear zoom, right? If you specify a
I see.
width of the frame at time 0 and a width of the frame at time t, how we get from 1 to 2 is just by, I think, linearly interpolating the width, but that means the zoom level is not decreased linearly.
Sounds wrong. Right. Take a look at it. Make sense?
I think it's specific for case to case. I'm sure it is wrong in some case, but it is not wrong in other cases. I'm not sure that is a general statement I want to make before I understand more.
Okay. Just look at it and see what. Okay.
Also,
What
if
do
you
I
want
need
to test in the cloud quickly to loop back for a second, animation video of hue of t, and t goes from 0 to 1. I'm upset that crashed, and I don't understand why. We'll loop back on that, but I think that is kind of a corner case. Yeah, so that's what I expect.
Why does it have the banding here? Why isn't it
I
a
think
fixed color at
that's
the top?
I think that's the
There is just
controls.
the HTML element that we rely on. That is how we can play back video without involving the kernel.
If you play and move your mouse out, it might go away after a second or so.
Oh, I see. Well, that's cute. I mean, that's a microscopic video, but okay.
So look at these tours. I mean, I've seen them in prototype mode, but see up there were sort of pre-tours named. You can specify, of course, every, key points, or key camera views and whatnot.
Those
But
other
there's
ones don't work.
Those are still to be ironed out.
Oh man, that's the easy ones.
Those are
Which
the
one?
easy ones, right?
So
Only
these ones don't
rotate
work.
is implemented
Okay, which
in
is
your
what it
version
did
of
in this
prototype.
case. What's it
Right.
going to do by default?
I think rotate is fine.
Okay.
Pan would be useful if you have a very, very wide object. And that's
Yes.
not most of the cases. Yeah, zoom wouldn't be that exciting. Yeah, I think rotate is the best.
I'm about to make use of all this video capability for some video I'm making for some talk I'm supposed to give. So you're probably hearing from me.
Well, that will be good feedback.
Right. It's going to be a little complicated because I'm trying to make, well, there's several different things going on. I'm surprised you haven't heard yet from Richard at the Institute. Because he's making some very complicated movie with hypergraphs and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you'll hear from him. Tell him. Shall I tell him to contact you, Carlo?
Yeah, why not?
I mean,
If anything, general mailing lists would be the best, Stephen.
And if there is need for like quick progression, like the TV, the processing rocket chat is usually pretty good.
Okay. Can somebody communicate that? Do I need to communicate that? Eli, could you please write a little email and I'll forward it on?
Sure thing, yeah.
Okay. Subtitle edition. Okay, what font does it use for the subtitles?
We can style things.
Don't have necessarily a default. It's usually either stored within the file itself or as a side text.
I see.
And it's symbolic. It's not like we can store style information, but if the font doesn't exist or whatever, some default will be chosen by the player.
All right. I have no idea what these fades look like.
Scroll to the option section. I try to visualize it in that transition effect. So no transition, just goes from one to the next. And then if you have fade, which is the next one, you have some kind of an overlay like that. And
yeah,
then
I have no idea whether it looks reasonable or not.
click to download the resource, the file. You don't need to reevaluate. And now play again.
Can I resize this or not?
Interactively, no.
Why did that flip so quickly?
It stopped just before the end. There was something weird that was happening there with interactivity.
Well, looks reasonable, but I don't understand fades very well. I mean, it seems like you have many fade options here.
I don't think those will be necessary, just because we're not dealing with something like sound that has a logarithmic perception. We're looking at pixel values, so I think the linear one will be the default choice, and I'm not sure there will be much need to tweak that. But we do have support for several curves.
Have what?
Several curves.
We have support for all of those kind of fadings of the intensity of the two curves.
Yes. Images, the intensity of the images, yeah. Sandra's asking, why is it possible to rotate a dodecahedron at 200 hertz in the front end, but rasterizing it isn't even close to that speed?
Oh, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, the front end is not very fast at rasterizing. It needs to, first of all, it needs to figure out how big the thing is, which, from what I understand, and keep in mind, I'm not a front end expert here, figuring out the size of the cell that is being rasterized is expensive. And then all of those pixel values need to be stored and transferred over MathLink, which is also not the fastest thing. There are some.
We're doing the wrong thing. I mean, look,
I think that there's something fishy. There's something fishy about that whole thing, because if we
we should talk to John Fultz about that. He will be the one.
Okay, but first of all, if there's something about finding the size, we know the frigging size here. If we're rasterizing a whole image, we know the size.
Well, I'm sure that is true, but clearly there is some subtlety that John will know better how to explain than I do.
Right, but do you understand what I'm saying?
That was my assumption too. That's what I asked John as well. Can we skip this calculating the size?
And well, also, in modern times, we have all of these foreign function interface mechanisms and so on. Maybe we don't need to transfer anything through, WSTP or whatever.
Yeah, these are questions.
Where is it? Where is it transferred to? It's transferring to an external file anyway.
No. It's transferring data right from the front end to the kernel through MathLink.
I know, but why doesn't the front end just open some FFI connection to something which is
I mean,
dumping data into a file.
I would agree, and those are all rasterized improvements that we would definitely welcome. But
Well, that's not rasterized. That wouldn't be rasterized. That would be something special for videos.
sure, but all
Just
that
open the
functionality
thing because you're
is
going to
still
throw it
there.
into a file
Yeah,
through
yeah.
an encoder, through a video encoder.
So I'm just
But no,
thinking
it would
that
not.
there's something
let
there
me
that
make it clear.
It would
renders.
still need to
It's
be
not.
transferred.
No, it would not go through rasterize ever. It would do the
Sure,
same
but
thing
it's
that
still, it still would need to pass through the kernel. The front end doesn't
No,
have
it
access to encoders. It cannot write directly to a video file.
Well, then you may need to write something that has some separate little program that just goes through the encoders to a video file.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds potentially
thought
good,
we-
but
I thought we did write something actually for
FFmpeg
link for the to the
link
front end.
is
So
in front end, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
that is for reading, not for writing.
Well,
But then-
we can add.
But I guess
writing.
we can add writing.
Right. So
Yeah,
then the
that's-
idea would be don't ever go. I mean, it's crazy to go through the kernel. That's why this is so unbelievably slow. Come on, guys, we can avoid this. Thank
Yeah,
you, Sandra.
something that definitely we need to talk to John about. I
Right.
feel not qualified enough to say
Okay.
if that is
Can we
feasible or
get
not.
this? Okay, this should probably be on the global project list. It's kind of a critically important thing, given that we're trying to support video and you just spent, a couple of years working on this. Let's make sure we don't, the final link isn't just totally broken. Make sense? Why don't we bring that back to another meeting with me?
Sure. I mean, we do have also a meeting with John regularly. We can see what he thinks of this avenue.
I think so.
I think it's going to need me grinding on the engineering because it sounds like people are confused.
I think the idea is pretty clear. I'm
Maybe,
just not
maybe
sure how
not.
feasible it is.
Well, if you
Yeah.
you haven't done it for the last 2 years, so I have to believe it wasn't that clear.
No, I mean, the idea is clear. Just the conclusion was that is not a viable solution.
Okay, I don't believe you. That's why I
Yeah.
think I need to be involved.
Let us have a chat with John, and
Okay.
we can loop back with you if needed.
Thank you. Okay. If you haven't actually solved it, loop back with me.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm certain this can be done. Okay. Segment anything. Okay.
That's Sam we mentioned in the previous meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So what should I look at here?
All those functions should have
You see
documentation.
the examples below.
Which
is
example
hard
below
to-
where? Oh,
Yeah, the example. It's hard to locate in that big.
This
that one
is,
new.
yeah, these are background removal examples. So currently what you see on 14 SAM-based background removal, we're grabbing a hold of the boundary around the image, ignore the artifact, the 1 pixel raw artifacts. But from that, we're trying to segment outside from inside.
yeah, well, it's doing really well.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, it's great.
But this is one flavor of SAM. The other 2 functions we're introducing or we're proposing to introduce. One is a global segmentation image components. The other one is really similar to remove background, but instead of returning an image with an alpha channel, returns the mask.
Okay.
Just the alpha channel.
Okay, so
This is
What's
really
this?
old, Stephen. You didn't update.
I did update. So I don't know what's going on. So you tell me. I just ran an update. Okay.
I don't know how your scripts work, but my
Well-
version has an illustration in the notes.
Well,
And
I'm sorry,
starts
but
with-
then I just asked in the last meeting for somebody to please check this. Apparently they didn't do it. So what should I be seeing? I mean, I can, okay. Unless you, an image, what was it? Image components? What was I looking at?
Yes.
Well, that's what I've got. So
This
you
is
tell me.
very old. Maybe more than a week old.
Okay, well, I just updated. Can update again right now.
Roger, can you confirm you see an illustration maybe in there?
Yeah, let me double check. Oh shit, I need to update too, because you just did it, right? So
Okay, it says it's up to date. Okay, it says it's up to date. So I don't know what's going on. Okay. So you want to email me the file or what? Something's wrong with this. It's not correctly updating. So let's not waste time on this.
You want me to send you a file? I can.
I want you to send me the image components documentation file,
Sure.
the one that is not updated.
yeah, I get the updated file from
Okay,
CVS.
I don't know what the heck's going on. So can somebody please get with the other Roger?
I can work with Roger if you want me to.
Please do it.
Okay. Yep.
I just sent you the file.
Okay. I don't know how this could possibly be wrong. And I worry that it's going to spray all kinds of stupid old files into the layout.
Yeah, that's happened before.
I know it's happened before. Supposedly because one of the machines had a disk that filled up. But let's make sure it doesn't happen again. Okay, I'm not getting this mail yet.
Now, Sam is slow. We're working to see if we can make the neural network faster. The first time we need to download the network.
Is that Sam, this one here?
Yes.
Okay, so it's unbelievably slow.
Yep. We're hoping we can cut that by a factor of 2 or something, but it
that's
is
still
going
going to be no
so
good.
many times.
So how are we going
slower.
to deal with this?
We ship an
Uh,
H100 to each customer.
No, seriously, Roger, how are we going to deal with this?
I think that they're doing. I mean, well. So I haven't seen
we
the
can
numbers.
obviously have a performance goal,
Yeah.
but the issue is, how's anybody ever going to know that it's not just bad?
Is there a progress monitor for it?
Yes.
Um,
But what are we going to have as the default?
And are we using GPUs? Are we using
No.
GPUs?
What?
So
why not? Why are we not using GPUs?
I guess the usual answer
heard that in 14.0, the Onyx implementation will support Core ML, which means we can use it on Macs.
Then it will use it by default.
Yeah, that will be great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so please get with
CUDA and Core ML. So CUDA for non-Macs, Core ML for Macs. I think we should try that. As a sort of a faster inference.
So is this the CPU timing or what?
CPU timing, yes.
Okay, so it'll be much faster with GPUs.
Yes.
So, but I think it would be good to invent a scheme for progress monitors. So one of the lessons that we've learned in recent years is, reevaluation works in the following sense. For example, you load a WFR, you've got an out-of-date version. Okay, it says you've got an out-of-date version. It says press here to update. Okay, but it gives a result anyway with the older version. Making sense? But it seems to work just fine for people. You press the update, then you run it again if you want that. See what I'm saying? So in this case, what I would suggest is it has something which says, performance goal, and then it might have a pull down in the progress monitor or something. If it was quality, it could be like a button that's like stop and run at lower quality.
That would be interesting. Yep.
So I'm saying, so that way we could default it to high quality. Mostly when people are using it interactively, they'll just see it. It might grind for a while, but they'll at least see what's going on. And that way they'll know to change your code and so on. All right, what else do we have to see about this? Image components.
Nothing much here design-wise is controversial, unless you want to discuss
Well,
the
wait a
name.
minute, wait a minute,
This is a new function.
wait. I don't understand here. This is a labeling function, but just like it reminds me of connected graph components versus, you know what I'm saying? One of them actually gives graphs and the other gives just the labels.
Right.
I would like to get something which is, the image component images, so to speak. I don't want to get all my horses out as a list. I mean, I understand there'll be incomplete horses, but that's okay. See what I'm saying? Rather than a label matrix, which I then have to mess around with.
Could we wait for that for annotations to come? I'm guessing 14.1. And then maybe we can even embed that into the same image, but you'll still have to mess with that.
No, it's no good. It's no good. That's not what we want.
List of images.
Yeah, that's what we want. Because in many cases, if those horses were better separated, that's exactly what I want. Just like in facial features, we get a list of faces, which is very good, very useful. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't get.
I'm thinking it's going to be a very much bloated result. If you have so many components, I think I have an example of some tomatoes. Maybe
Okay,
in
fine.
another.
I mean, fine,
but then how many images are going to be coming back?
Well, but remember, each image is smaller. I mean, they have bounding boxes, but the puppy is a small puppy, See what I'm saying?
And then we lose the relative location of the puppy.
We lose the
is that
location.
useful? Okay.
Well, it's the same thing as facial features. We should do it the same way we do with facial features.
Right, a different set of properties. And maybe some criteria for selecting what components to return.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. But I think that's a really useful function. I think it's much more useful than this function with labeling. This is only for image processing experts.
You have proposals for the name? I wasn't even
I don't really
convinced.
like image components being this thing that does something that's basically very, very expert based. What are the other names in this area? I mean, there's things like morphological components and so on. Right?
Yes.
What do we have there? What do we have?
All the segmentation functions that return a label matrix end with components. Now we have other functions that end with components as well. Clustering components, image foresting components, grow cut components. Those are all
image
segmentation.
Oh.
One of those segmentation algorithms that honestly never worked well.
Well, we should probably obsolete this function.
I was thinking about the same thing.
I mean, we should probably, for some of these functions, we should just at least nominally obsolete them and just say it's been superseded by image components or whatever.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of these things that were, algorithm specific, so to speak, which can now be done better with machine learning. Why not plan to obsolete them?
Sure.
Now,
some of them,
question.
Some of them still probably have value for two reasons. One, speed, and two, being so very well defined and deterministic. What they do, what criteria they go after.
Maybe they should just be method options.
Sure, I can see that.
Because I think they're for experts.
And then they get documented as method in the method framework for documentation.
Indeed, which would be good.
Basically, this page, more or less, just reformatted as a method.
Yep. I think it's a much better idea because I think muddying things up where somebody says, I'm going to learn image processing. Oh my gosh, I have to learn foresting components. I don't know what the heck that is. They don't have to learn it.
Or Chan Vese binarize.
Yeah. Yeah. 99%
Roger's favorite.
probability. Yeah. 99% probability.
Nobody knows what it is when I ask them if they know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
I've had
right.
100% success rate or failure rate, depending on how you view it.
I think Christopher likes that function. You could try asking him what it is. I think he would know.
Okay.
I'm telling you that the functionality, that segmentation works. This one, I could never get a good segmentation out of it, but
Yeah, okay, fine.
Chan Vese, it works.
Right. Well, maybe it should be the default option for default method for binarize. And I do think that this idea of when anything is at all slow, having a progress monitor with this, buttoning and so on to indicate that there might be a faster method. Okay, so we need to figure out, and I don't know what.
So maybe I can, this is more of a brainstorm thing, but maybe you guys have thought about this too. I wonder, so several editing tools, kind of like, Photoshop or something like that, they allow you to do like a little piece of an image very quickly so you can see what it is. So, but I don't know exactly how to reproduce a workflow like that. And I think that something similar might be useful for video. You don't do the full video, you do like a little piece of it. You can say whether that's what you want type thing.
Yes.
But I don't know in a REPL exactly how one does that.
Well, I mean, the one thing that will be useful to see is things is seeing the thing like we do with image. Do we do it with image size? We do it certainly with the version of that I was using for that blog post about cats. You can see the image build up. And I could imagine a situation where, where you'd see the image, so to speak. I don't know, where, for example, the progress monitor would show the image building up. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, but I'm not sure that
may not be doable here.
Yeah.
Sandra is commenting that a reason for having these method-based functions is that you want something deterministic that doesn't change every year because of a new neural net. Point taken.
He's quite, yeah,
Good
he's right.
But I mean, that's, I think, where you set a method option, because you've got a choice. Sandra's commenting that find image shapes is great, but it will be good to open up the hidden options, which he appears to have found. Cluster threshold, cover threshold.
Sandra is digging in.
Yeah, right. Well, that's good. But I mean, why? Those are controls for how the image shape gets found.
I actually don't remember all of these.
Okay.
Well, I'm assuming they're all selection criteria.
This is pathetically underdocumented.
But God. we have plans to updating this anyways.
All right. Okay. Let's come back to the image component.
The segmentation label versus
I mean, it's so horrible to say component images as well as image components. That's just too horrible. But I think ending with images, or features for that matter.
Image component features?
I don't know. It makes me think I'm going to get a list of features. I mean, a list of numerical feature vectors.
Is there a way to use the label matrix to pick out that subimage?
Yeah. We have component measurements. You can pass to it both the image and label matrix and say, I want the subimage for label 5, or actually maybe the majority of the work could be put there to make component measurements.
I thought about that. I thought about it. But the problem is, by the time you have this thing, you've got to feed the image in twice. See what I'm saying? It makes this from image components, but this image here does not contain all the information. So you need the original image as well as the mask.
Component
So it
measurement
won't
can
work.
take that, right?
It has to
You have
take
it.
both things. That's
It
the
has to
point.
take both things, right?
Right. So we already lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying you can't do pure sequential function type flow. So we really want something where out of this comes
But so the label is also categories. It's categories basically, right? It's finite number of categories. And are they're always integers for us, obviously, since we stick them in an image or an array.
Yeah. No, but I mean, look, facial features is a good case, is a good sample of how to do this. Right. So, I mean, I like facial features. I've used it, you know. See, isn't that nice?
Mm-hmm.
And here we could have things like, you know, we can have things like the location and so on.
Well, if you get out the sub-image, that's just a sub-rectangle in the big image, right? So we could say where it's relatively positioned if you
Sure,
need
of
to.
course we could, which is what we do for facial features.
We do?
We do.
Yep.
We have, I mean, there's the nose points, you know, hit it on the nose. Right. So somewhere here is bounding box.
Well, that's the bounding box, but you need to
of the face.
Oh, in the big image. Okay. Then
Yes.
that's exactly what we need. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the exact same model.
Yep.
Now, I don't understand. Image contents, I thought,
I was
did
gonna say,
something very
that
much
has-
like this.
Correct.
So I don't understand why we don't just put this into image contents. What does image contents do? We got two dogs here.
Yep. Gives a label. Gives a data set of
Well, that's magnificent.
sub-image
That's
label
exactly what we
stuff.
need, except for the fact that it needs to use SAM.
Oh, with SAM, we don't know what each component is. We don't
Well,
know
then
it's a
ask some
dog
other
or a.
system. Ask something else.
Mm-hmm. We could
Or
try,
don't,
but it
or,
could
or
still
don't,
be
wait, wait a
unknown.
second. It might be unknown. So what?
Right.
This looks great to me. This has exactly what we need. It's got the image and the bounding box. And even a probability. I mean, there might be two probabilities there. That might be the probability for the concept. I'm not sure that the default here, yeah, I mean, this looks fine. I mean, much of the time we will be able to resolve what it is. Some of the time we won't. This is surely the right thing.
Should we return components that we can tell what it is? No, you said it can be unknown.
I don't know. You have to try some things there. I mean, it could
Let
be.
us try.
Yeah, it could be that most of the time you can resolve it. It could be that it's useful to. It could be that we should suppress by default things which we can't identify because they're kind of silly, because they're just like the the left paw of the dog type thing, and that's not enough dog to consider it a content element.
I have one question that maybe I missed. So image components does the segmentation doesn't really necessarily just do rectangles, right? It's a
That's correct.
pixel segmentation. So how would that fit in image contents? Maybe I missed.
I don't know. Maybe it needs a mask as well. I don't know whether image contents has a mask, but it certainly could have with this technology.
Image contents doesn't. I was imagining if we inject SAM into image contents, it would mask out that sub-image.
Exactly.
With the shape of the segment itself.
Right.
I mean,
so in other words, that
they could be a list
that,
of masks or a list of masked out images.
It would absolutely mask out images. That's what we want.
Yeah, an additional element in this association that's a masked image or something.
Yeah, it could be the image and the masked image. See what I'm saying? The image, the image fragment and the masked image.
Yeah, and it could still have the bounding box because why not? And have additional element.
I think this should be put into image contents.
Our SAM-based development was longer than what you see now for 14. And I think we should continue on that. I don't think how much more we can squeeze into 14 at this point, but
No,
obviously
I
I'll
don't think
look
this
into
is
that
yeah, I mean,
and many more.
look, if this is remove background, this is the result from remove background, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's nice. That's a good result. But I mean, I don't know whether we can get this into 14, but this is where this should go. This image contents thing is the place to put it, I think.
Okay.
I mean, think about the design, but it seems right to me.
And you don't want anything like image components that just returns the label matrix?
No, you can have that if you want to, but it's for
Okay.
experts.
Okay.
Nobody else wants it.
Naming wise, is that a fine name to you?
I don't like it very much. I think it's way too general.
Alternatively, I think we're proposing, if you go back to that notebook I sent you, semantic components.
Oh, no.
That's
Don't do that.
terrible. I mean, the semantic.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
It
That's a
could be
bad
anything,
idea.
right? Semantic
Yeah.
from.
Yeah, don't do that. That's a stupid idea. Okay, so, well, what kind of image components is it?
Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, look, why does the dog, why are the dogs a component and the stick is not?
Well, this
You
one is
saying?
in remove background,
No,
but
I
if you
understand
look
that. I
at,
understand that.
yeah, if you scroll down examples of image components, things are separated better.
Where?
In the notebook in the back center, like that horse, the puppy.
Well, yeah, I mean, the nose got separated. I would not call that semantic components when the nose is separated.
Sure. We did think about, and still may be time to put it in anyways, use the semantic segmentation networks that we have in the repo and put it also in image components.
I don't understand. What is this thing? I thought this was a semantic segmentation network. What is it if it isn't that?
It is a very general purpose segmentation network. The name is segment anything model.
Yeah, okay. Probably works like our brains work.
Mm-hmm. And I kept the syntax so far very simple so that it allows us to add more things, more methods for different networks or models, algorithms, whatever,
Well,
as you said.
try feeding some other things in. See whether
Okay, foresting
useful.
components. Okay.
Yeah, I mean method arrow, whatever. I just don't like these label matrices very much. I mean, they're a horrible workflow. Except for people, I mean, it's the same thing as you're doing LU decomposition or something, and you stuff the two parts of the matrix into the same thing because all you ever had in Fortran was an array, was a matrix-like array. It's the same type of thing. This is the same, somebody has their data structure is an image, so they stick numbers into an array. I just don't think it's actually the right thing. But
I was also thinking that we should think a little bit about the workflow for these label matrices. Like if I could mask on 5, that's the only thing that shows in my image, then it would be much nicer.
Yeah, it'd be more useful.
Right. And I just think that the
yeah.
little tweaks like that would go a long way.
Also, take a think about it. The other thing I'm
Yep.
wondering about is images that aren't rectangular. That
Yeah.
maybe we should have a image should be capable of having an image region that isn't rectangular. So that it becomes, and I don't know whether that means in image collage and things like that, it could imagine doing something more like word cloud, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the rectangularity.
I
of
mean,
images
we
kind of
I think
test,
it's interesting. Here's another related concept, which is that often in many workflows, you need, which is kind of like the same thing, like in medical, you need to sort of mark something up, and you
Yep.
need to have a little bit of information about the thing that you mark up. You know,
Yes.
this is a tumor, you know, grade A
No,
or whatever it is. And I think the same thing comes up in almost all applied workflows, like remote
Yes.
sensing type
Yeah,
things.
sure. Right, you indicate something, and I mean, we have a region of interest mechanism for images, yes or no?
It's not baked into them.
Masking
be.
option is here and there.
Okay, but it's not baked into the image. That's what
Right.
Roger and I am both saying. That
It's
having,
not.
right. I mean, maybe that's a better thing than even having weird shaped images, is just assume the image is going to be rectangular, but have the possibility of picking out a particular sub-element, sub-region.
Mm-hmm. It's been suggested a couple of times to use alpha channel for that. I don't like that idea.
It's
I
a
think it
hack.
has to be.
No.
I agree. I agree.
If we're going to use a channel, let's use the Xi channel, okay? Right? Let's not use a channel that has another meaning.
Exactly.
If we need it as an implementation hack, we can use a channel that you know, some other channel that we, you know, for example, right now we have channels 1, 2, 3, 4. Why don't we have named channels? Why can't we have channels in an association?
Yeah, we've talked about that. It's come up in like spectral imaging context and things like that as well.
That'd be a good thing to do. Because that way we could have a region of interest channel.
I think it's just a little bit of an expensive implementation-wise project. And maybe it never got prioritized in my head.
Well, I think you should think about it, because I think that way we could solve this problem, because that way we could have, you know, we could have the dog channel and things.
One thing to think is about how to talk about this with the external world, right? For example, many image formats only accept 3 channels or 4.
I mean, I don't think that that's a problem. Like, if let's say that, I think that there are many ways to do that. So let's say that I have markups on a DICOM image. Should you render those markups into the image themselves when you export it?
Right, it's a choice.
Yeah. Or should you
Sometimes
ignore
you want
them?
it, sometimes you don't.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a flattening operation. We've got it in some data structure, and to export it, splump, you flatten it. Okay, let's look at shape detection. Find image shapes. So what was updated in this?
The thing that it's not yet in the builds, but we think we can make it. The thing that might be useful, and we're just considering adding that to this release, is to use label matrix as the
How would you
input to that.
specify it?
Label matrix that you don't like.
Well, I mean, an option called label matrix?
No, as the input. So currently we have an image going in.
I see. So you take a matrix as input as well as an image.
Right.
And if that matrix is just a bunch of integers, then we recognize the shapes, the 5 shapes. You know, the 5s make up a circle.
Because one problem in find image shapes when we pass it edges is to group the edges into like connected or related components, pixels. And once we go in with a label matrix, that problem is already solved.
Well, I don't think look, I think it's like a bunch of I mean, what happens if I just say blur of random real 1 40 40?
You'll get a message on evaluate.
What
did you expect?
I wanted to take those, like, I wanted to do the same algorithm that it would do if I took this thing here.
No, you could do mean filter or you know, other filters,
okay,
but
fine. Right. So I do this, and then I want to blur that.
And then get the matrix back out.
Yeah, why not? I mean, since it works with mean filter, how would I know that it doesn't work with this?
I don't know. Blur always sounded very like visual.
It is, but I mean, I don't see why it shouldn't work with these. right? And I mean, just like, you know, and that way, that would be an excuse to have the image shapes work with numbers as well. So that, for example, even if I have like for example, if I say, well, find image shapes is a little weird, but I mean, in find image shapes on a sparse array, for example, oh, it's just got one, I mean, that would be kind of interesting to be able to find the two lines. And, if you have some sparse array that came from some, PDE-ish discretization or something, and has two lines in it, why not? Yeah, Sandra's commenting, by the way, we could just use Gaussian filter on the random reals, and that's true, but I just don't see why the other one shouldn't work. I mean, it's not going to do anything else.
That one requires a radius. Blur has a default. When we talk about these icing utilities, I always wonder how many times people intentionally want to blur data, and how many times it might be some kind of a coding error, and they might appreciate some kind of an error message.
I think this particular case, I just don't think they're going to do it on a non-image. If they did it on something, it'll be because they had the numbers and they forgot to make it into an image.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be my way of justifying making it work on label matrices.
Okay. But then with real matrices, we probably have to do some kind of a gradient filtering to kind of segment. And in an integer matrix, the gradient is just different numbers, different integers.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, whatever we're doing for the image itself, we should do for find image shapes on a matrix.
Mm-hmm. On images, the one behavior you didn't like, but we thought that's the correct one, is that we ask the user to compute the edges. And the reason why we say that is find image shape.
Horrible.
Yeah, we're planning to allow for different things to be highlighted, and then we can find disks as well as circles, and then us automatically computing gradient filter might not be right at that scenario as well.
Where are you computing? Where are you asking the user to compute anything?
Expects under the table, we say expects an image to be in which the shapes are highlighted. And yes, that gradient filter before you find image shapes.
That's horrible. That's horrible. But I mean, so we should be able to do, oh gosh. You guys, polish, guys. I mean, maybe it wasn't technically possible before, but it is now. So let's try and make sure that we can use this SAM thing to do the segmentation so we don't have to insist on that. So that becomes a comment and a suggestion, not a necessity.
But then I guess, okay, I still want to think about scenarios where, as we were talking about deterministic behavior, when do people want to compute their outlines with whatever method and then say, now use that?
And then, right, but I mean, so.
And then say something like pre-processing none?
Or something, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, it may be that the pre-processing is so, I think it will be so good at noticing there's a purple ring there and ignoring everything else.
Uh-huh. I think if we introduce some option like that pre-processing, we can use it in many places. I don't know, 5 versions ago, we talked about it, never introduced.
Yeah, you remind me of Oliver. He calls anything that isn't solving either pre-processing or post-processing.
Oh, right, I've heard that.
So But it's like for him, it all means finite element related. Pre-processing and post-processing.
But I kind of don't want to call this edge highlighting option or something like that. Although we can squeeze it under method option. Method goes to, actually, I think we do have pre-processing sub option in some places.
Okay. Well,
but like auto edge detection goes to true or false on their method.
Yes. But look, I think, okay, so several comments. I don't even understand why the compass is there by the time you've got the purple highlighting. Why don't get rid of it and just say, find the, if you don't want all the noise of the compass, just do your edge detection first and do find image shapes on the edge detected image.
As in the example.
No, not as in this example. I'm saying just get purple here. Right. So I mean, in this case,
just add graphics. Sure.
Yeah, no highlight
I
image.
think
Just. I mean, what I'm saying is, just do. Oh Christ. Drives me crazy. I'm so confused by what's going on here.
Just
oh,
run it
there
in
is
the
a gradient
docs.
filter here. So this is
Yes.
I hate this. Oh, come on. Why don't you just put the image in there?
That's
It's because you have a bad workflow.
Who was using it
That's
twice?
Yep.
Okay. So okay. The ghost of the compass is there. Now, if I say find image shapes of that, how many circles is that?
That's more than what's there. Do we have more parameters over there?
Although we cheated.
Oh, we're just picking the two bigger ones. Maximal by region measure 2.
Oh, come on. Come on, guys. Do a better job with these examples. I mean, you got to show what it really does.
This function, I agree, should improve. And as I said, we put our focus on SAM now. I think the better edge detection event from SAM is going to help better find image shapes. And then we talked about some other ideas here.
Well, I mean, I also am not sure that the right answer for this isn't some kind of data set play again.
Oh, I agree with that. Sure.
Where you show what the actual thing was in the picture, and then and then you give the form. I'm not certain, but this
at least
seem right to me.
properties. Maybe not a data set by default, but at least a set of properties would make sense.
Okay, what is Inpaint? What's been done with it? We're going to need to come back to a bunch of this stuff, obviously.
Yes, I'm kind of have a hard stop myself here in just a minute. So.
Okay, so what are we doing with Inpaint?
I sent you some additional notebooks that you don't have in the docs. So the thing we're adding here, just like Sam can pick out the component if we specify a position or a rectangle, and then segment that piece. Now we're saying previously Inpaint expected an image that highlighted what's being inpainted, but just look at those few tentative examples. You can give it a point and it gets rid of the segment indicated by that point, by that rectangle, set of rectangles, and so forth. So it's just auto segmenting. Again, the problem when we do that, it requires downloading the network and a few seconds of running the network to do the segmentation.
Well, downloading the network is fine. I mean, in the cloud, it'll be pre-downloaded, and we need to make sure that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
And, people, I do think that as we have more stuff that requires downloading, that we should discuss the possibility of a giant sort of download panel, okay? Where, something in the preferences, for example, which says what to pre-download. Because I can imagine a situation where somebody, I don't know, they're running some class or something, and they want to send everybody a pre-download sort of manifest so people can run it and it grinds away in the background for an hour, and then they show up and then they can do everything.
Assets, resources needed for different function, again, I think was discussed a while ago.
Yeah,
Very long
well,
time
right.
ago.
But I mean, I think, but putting that in the preferences as something that should be background downloaded to that computer makes some sense to me. I hadn't really thought of putting it in preferences before. Now, look, I mean, I think, monk with a umbrella or whatever the heck this is. Maybe they're not monks. I don't know what they are. Well, they look.
I think they are. This is very low resolution, but they look like that.
Okay, but in any case, I mean, presumably this could be a name here of a thing.
Right. The prompted version of all of these is probably as well a 14.1 project.
Right, I understand. But I mean, the other thing we should be able to do is to, once we have image contents and one of these monks is extracted as one of the sub-images, one should be able to say inpaint this thing, comma, the monk, because you should easily be able to find the monk in the image. And we have a function for doing that, don't we?
Right.
I mean, if we
Hey,
don't.
I'm going to have to go. I'm going to ask to set up 1 more hour, right?
Yes.
Because we have also audio, we have import export. Not super much in either one, but and wrap what we started.
Yes. Okay, fine.
Okay.
All right. See you, Roger. We'll wrap in just a second here. What has been modernized in text recognize?
Not much in the ref page, but if you open the benchmarks, more specifically, so far we have improved natural
Was that on
scene
purpose
text
that you have a
detection.
typo in this one?
Typo. It always amuses me how quickly you see typos, Stephen. So both the improvements are in natural scene text detection or text recognition, but we are moving forward with easy OCR, a set of networks that are known to be good performing as well, and then updating possibly printed text and other languages as well. Some of those, that second number for fine image text is not that, it's still a big improvement, but not as big as the first one you were seeing. Tesseract was performing like 21% accurate on natural scenes before, and now we're getting, I think, 70, 80 if you scroll up.
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
I mean,
71.
I assume it performs. I assume the new thing performs with the same time performance and as high accuracy on a printed page, for example, on a scan, right?
Well, we do want to run a benchmark before we switch the backend, and that easy OCR that I said is also a very promising backend for printed text.
Okay, but we can surely run an incredibly cheap classifier for whether
Yes.
we're looking at a natural scene or printed text if we need to
Yes.
switch between them.
Yes. That's more of the future stuff, text related.
Can we do handwriting OCR? Is that advanced?
You paused that project, I think, a year or 2 years ago. We haven't gotten back to that, but I think it's something that we could potentially get back
Well,
to.
I just don't know whether it will work yet. I mean, I've got tons of examples if you want them from.
Which one is higher priority, you think? Math or handwritten?
Math by a long way.
I agree.
All right. Well, we should What is that? What is that?
Wait, that is not for that speech synthesize. That is not.
Right. Recognize using the OS recognizer, the OS APIs is not
That
a
is
14 feature
most
anymore.
likely not for 14.
Is that local or is it going to the cloud?
So I think it depends on Mac. It most likely goes to the cloud, but Apple is a bit fishy about how they document this. They aren't really explicit if it goes to their cloud or not. So this is why we're kind of postponing to make sure we have all of these details more
Okay.
under control.
All right, we should wrap for now. Looks good. Look forward to the next iteration here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, see you all soon.